Howdy, Oliver. I hope you're having a great day, and I hope this makes your day even better. For a recap, I posted this on Indie Hackers a few days ago, and I gave a lot of reviews on and advice on a number of landing pages, but I decided to go to pick um, MonsterWriter as the actual redesign because it had a lot of really good content already. It was an established product, and I thought that just redoing the design, simply doing that would really boost the quality and the professionalism of the website and the product. So I did several things. So let's take a look at the existing MonsterWriter webpage. So this is the existing MonsterWriter site. We know it's a desktop app. We see that it's downloadable. There's some points about it, and we can see how much it cost and get an idea of how to get started. What I wanted to do was partially touch on the messaging and the positioning of the product, but primarily focus on the design. So what I created was a redesign that can be used as the brand guideline, but then also worked on some of the text copy. So this is the first look at what I worked on. I followed the guidelines that are fairly standard for building landing pages that convert. Um, if you, I'm going to send you a link to this page, but this Figma file. But if you want to go back and look at some of the scraps and stuff I left around, one of them somewhere, oh, it's over here, is an outline of the step-by-step guide for landing pages by Harry Dry. And so that's really what I followed when I went through this and came up with the concepts and how to change stuff. This was my process of reviewing what currently exists and deciding what to do next. So, high level view, let's go through that first. Updated the navigation. There's no navigation on the current page, and there needs to be something to ground the website as a whole. I think you also need more pages, but not very many, and that could just be FAQ or a dedicated contact page elsewhere. So the hero section, I built that out with a better headline, subtext, CTA, and a sub on that as well for how to handle downloads. This may not be available right now. Logos based on companies or brands that are using it. If you get into campuses, that could be a really good place for that. Testimonials from people that have actually used and rated the product. Like I mentioned in our messages on Indie Hackers, you definitely want to start gathering those and using them more. So this I created in like a fairly standard setup, some content, and then features and benefits on the left and right, flip flopping all the way down. Didn't add a screenshot or anything. After like working on this one, I realized so the first one was distraction free writing, and I thought that was really good. But then when I got to the second one, it was focus on writing, not on formatting, which I think is also a really good point. But I realized it probably needs to be something significantly different than writing, focus on writing, because that's really what this one section was about. But we can get, you can work on that, or we can get into that later. Write once, publish everywhere. I think that's an important one. Write your way. So I put in this feature block of what you can expect in the tool. And this concept, I think landing pages and websites and apps there's a lot of room for creativity and experimentation, but for the most part, like there are certain tried and true ways to build stuff and design stuff that works. And like somebody else once upon a time said, great artists borrow. No, that's not it. Good artists borrow, great artists steal. So some of these I checked like competitors and similar products, and this concept right here directly from Notion. I thought it worked really well for this site. FAQ section. I think you already have some FAQs maybe, but writing out those further, and then the final second CTA from the top. So just kind of re-expressing the offering and how to get started. And finally here at the bottom, a personal note from you, the creator. You also need a better footer, but I'll leave that for another time. Now, I could go into each of these one by one, but I'm not going to. I'm going to tell you something interesting that I tried for the first time for this project, for this design and writing, is I followed an outline that somebody else provided to use ChatGPT to generate content. At first I was writing some content on my own and like coming up with some stuff, but that wasn't really the purpose of this experiment here. It was really about design, but I just couldn't help myself. That's how I get sometimes. And so let me show you what I was able to generate using ChatGPT. And I'm going to send you this document as well. Let's move that over here so we can see this. So MonsterWriter app, I ran through a number of prompts about standard things that you see on landing pages: headline, subhead, call to action, video sales letter, social proof, benefits, process, what's included, about us, and FAQs. And it came up with some pretty good content. A lot of times it's a little dull and a little boring, but I think you can gain something and generate some ideas. So after generating some headlines, I took a couple of them and kind of spliced them together. Ace your thesis with ease, the ultimate paper writing experience. So your current site, what does it say? MonsterWriter, the most enjoyable desktop app for writing a thesis or paper. So like, great, glad it's enjoyable. It's a desktop app. It's for writing a thesis or a paper. But let's get a little bit more specific. So I know, right for this one, I honed in completely on thesis. I know you could expand that further and later, and I don't know exactly the right terminologies for what you could call it: thesis, research papers, professional documents, something along those lines. But for now, I'm focusing on thesis. So one thing to note on this, when it comes to what can be complicated when it comes to having downloads, is what is your CTA and how do you display multiple points that you need to get across as far as what's downloadable and how to get started. So this one, I got a really good example from Obsidian, that's what it was, which is also a downloadable. And so whenever I looked at this website and I saw this setup and this big button for get Obsidian for your operating system, I assumed that they're doing a check on that, but then it's also available on these other platforms. So I thought that was a really good way to go. Of course, it seems to have a mobile component to it as well. But this was a good website that I liked a lot and was moderately comparable. I'm jumping around a little bit here. Let's open up this ChatGPT doc again. But, I think this is good. You can go run through it, read through stuff, get an idea of stuff you can write or explain. Some of it came up with some pretty good questions like, Social proof. What objections should social proof answer for a thesis writing app? Does the app actually work for students writing thesis papers? Have other students had positive experiences? Has the app improved thesis writing process for other students? Has the app helped students produce better quality? So if you could answer those, that would be awesome. Like, so maybe better, you have the testimonials and the ratings from people who have actually used your product, but is there a way to actually quantify that that somebody wrote a better thesis paper using MonsterWriter than they would have otherwise? That could be something really interesting to consider and try to come up with. Benefits, came up with some cool benefits. Process. I thought this was actually a pretty good idea. So I asked, what is the process for writing a high quality thesis paper? And it gave me a 9-point outline of how to write one. That could definitely be something really good to think about and include in your pitch. What's included, about us. So this was about you in a way. Write a brief about us section about why Oliver built a thesis writing app. And FAQs. So I came up with some FAQ ideas that I thought were pretty good, and I worked those in down here. So a couple big changes that I made here as just a proof of concept was, one, moving away from that seafoam green color. I think it's a good color, and I could probably work on it more to find the exact right color for that seafoam green. But in its current existence, I think it's a little too soft, like a little too much of a tint. Like, it needs to be a little bit more powerful. And that with the orange, maybe not the best combination. They are analogous? No, opposite. Blue and orange are opposites. But when it comes to like content and things like check marks and positive reinforcers, orange is not the greatest for that. So I went with just this fairly common blue that you see in a lot of software products, and you could work on that still to tighten it up if you would like. The cartoons, I think, could either be a boost or an inhibitor of the quality of a product, and so they're really hard to do if you have characters or cartoons. And so what I would probably recommend is minimizing the character and having just like a few really high quality illustrations. Like, I would probably hire somebody to redraw this for you and get a few really good illustrations that you can use throughout. But when it comes to logos, this is not a logo. It's a illustration or a graphic. A logo is very simple. It can be very small and work, and it can work in only one color. And so because of that, I took the idea of the monster shape and quickly made this little graphic that is like the monster head or a paw or a claw or something like that. Definitely not something I would say go with this, but I think it gives you an idea of a different direction for your logo for the whole brand. Something else to consider if you are going to continue building this product and expanding it is possibly renaming the brand. And I say that because I think that MonsterWriter is pretty good, and it kind of ties into a lot of other aspects of professional businesses. Monster, the term, has Monster Jobs or something, but there's a number of professional businesses that use Monster in their naming. But maybe you can get to something else that's either more focused if you're going the thesis route, or more general if you're going to open that up to like professional papers and as a whole. Or that could be something to consider. So Hero, I actually mocked up this new UI example of the product. Uh, Created these images, stuck these in. But let's take a look at this other version of it. So I also duplicated this over and went back to that seafoam green color with the existing MonsterWriter logo, just to get an idea of what that would look like as well. And it still looks really good. So, I don't think you need to change your whole brand right now at all. If you are going to implement any of these ideas, you could still continue with the color scheme and the logo and the name that you have and the screenshots. But in my mind, as I was preparing for this, I had a lot more that I was going to get into and the nitty gritty and stuff, but I don't think I really need to. In this case, I think just looking at this probably speaks for itself mostly. Let's do this. So I can turn on prototype mode, and basically all I'm doing really is cropping it down to the size of a MacBook Pro screen, so you can get an idea of what you see in a single screen view, above the fold, below the fold, and as you're scrolling through content. So what I always like is I like a lot of white space, and I like a lot of breathing room, and I like big text that's bold, and I like plenty of room between sections. But what the fold people and the non-fold people argue about is, like, you have to put everything above the fold. That's important, or else people aren't going to scroll. That's not true. But also, one of my tricks that I like to follow is, hey, I can put a lot of important stuff above the fold, but I want people to scroll. I don't want them to just land here and leave, or land here and click something that maybe not. I want them to scroll. And so how can I tease content, or with content or an image or text that they should keep going? I think this method can work sometimes as far as a large image or video. Other times I've actually written really big text, and it goes down and from the initial above the fold view to below the fold. I mean, they want to read the text, they got to scroll and read it. And I mean, there's different ways to handle it. But you can scroll through here, you can kind of see, like, hey, I'm hitting on these big headlines, one point, and it goes directly into the next, and I can already see that there's something after that, and I can see that there's something after that, and I keep following it down, and I just keep going, and before you know it, you're going all the way down the page, hopefully. But I'm going to stop there. This is about to hit 20 minutes, and I can be long-winded sometimes. But I hope you enjoy this. I definitely spent a lot more time and effort than I probably should have, and expected, but it was fun, and I enjoyed it, and I hope you find this valuable.